I've often thought that I was born a century too late. I would have given anything to have been able to make moonshine back in the old days, you know, because that's when the thrill of it, you know, and you were an outlaw.
What was once an illegal product is now a legal product. My dad rolled over in his grave now if he knowed it's legal.
It's easy, I think, in a lot of ways in Hollywood or wherever to sort of create this negative caricature of hillbillies. For those of us that are from here, we're proud to be hillbillies, and we're proud to be who we are, and we've got a long past that we just wanted to share with the rest of the world.
I'd say 60% of the people in Tennessee drinks moonshine. The residents, all of them drink it, I'd say. Even the women took a drink or two now and then.
My great-grandmother made the moonshine in our family. She brought it over from the Cherokee side of the mountain, and she made the moonshine. So she had her little 10-gallon still that she made moonshine on. So that's kind of where we get it from.
They brought the knowledge with them when they came over from Scotland and England, and it was just something that they started to do so they could have alcohol to drink, you know, at social functions and things like that. And then they found out they could make a lot of money doing it too. So considering that there was no kind of industry here or anything, that was just a way that they supplemented their lives, you know, and made ends meet.
You know, I think that it's easy to point out the fact that a lot of families, good families, just made liquor to get by. You know, it wasn't something that was done with a whole lot of malice or you know, this mean-spirited kind of way. It was truly just a way to make sure that their kids ate and that the family survived.
The laws changed for us in late 2009, early 2010. You know, we became Tennessee's first legal moonshine distillery.
We're fortunate to live in a part of the country where we're now able to celebrate in a lot of ways that struggle and what it meant to live in the mountains when times weren't so easy. And you know, my mom, she was the youngest of 15 kids, and you know, to hear stories of people who were living in a couple of rooms with big families and just trying to get by, you know, it certainly makes you appreciate all the niceties that we have now.
And we're trying to do the same thing that people did out in the woods. I mean, our fermenters are open. We open the doors here every day. You know, we're just regulated by the government now.
Yeah, at least you don't have to look around over your shoulder and worry about the revenue sneaking up on you or something. So we got her made now. We got somebody watching her back. Oh, Uncle Sam's watching her back, I reckon. What makes a good moonshine? Corn, rye, wheat, sugar. Just mix it up and ferment it off, work it off, and run it. And that makes a good moonshine.
Moonshine is basically just an unaged corn whiskey. I think that people are starting to recognize moonshine as a category, as a new spirit. It's something new to drink, and when moonshine's done right, it's actually a very nice, consumable, you know, alcohol.
A good moonshine is a good corn. You got a little bit of a corn taste in your alcohol. I mean, it's just like a good whiskey, just a smooth, easy to drink, sipping whiskey. All the corn's grown and milled locally. So, you know, that way you've got corn that's been grown here for thousands of years. You've kind of got a tradition. You're not going out west buying corn. The corn will go into a silo somewhere, and from there we'll bring it over to the mill. Then it's ground fresh and brought here. Start by cooking the corn, then we bring it into one of the fermenters. As you ferment 3 to 5 days, you're making alcohol. What happens in that process is the yeast actually eats the sugars in the corn and produces alcohol. After we produce the amount of alcohol, all it's going to make, we bring it into the still and cook it off. We want to heat it up hot enough to turn the alcohol into steam and then condense it back to liquid and only get the alcohol out of the mash.
You know, we can bring grain in and be putting it in a bottle back in a case in 5 days. It's a pretty quick process. We've grown quite rapidly, and I think a lot of it's just because, you know, we're a family-owned company and we do put out a good, consistent product.
When we started the brand, we wanted to reach that level of authenticity that was beyond reproach, something that couldn't be questioned. And moonshine has evolved over the years, but for our ancestors that were making whiskey in the early days of settling these mountains, it was made with corn. And so taking the freshest of ingredients from corn that's locally milled and having a product that is truly authentic in that way, maintaining a high level of quality of corn liquor, to me, that's where our true success is.
Moonshining was almost a lost art, you know, because the people in my generation really didn't embrace it like the people of the last generation, because they didn't need to do it. You know, there was tourism here and things of that nature. So I definitely think Joe was always real proud of his family heritage, and he always loved this area. And I think that there was a definite effort to bring it back to the forefront and, you know, not to let it be lost to history.
Our state song, Rocky Top, has a line in it that says that corn don't grow at all on Rocky Top. And it talks about the soil being too rocky. And so people got their corn from a jar. And in that line of our state song, there's a whole lot that can be taken from that. And the simple part of it is, the people that lived here could take the corn, the little bit of corn that they could grow on the side of a mountain, and they could turn it into a jar of liquor and get a much greater return on their investment by selling that. There's an awful lot of tough folks from the mountains, and I think that, you know, to be able to figure out that they can get by with what they've got, that's, I like that.
Yeah, people used it for medicine-wise. They'd put rock candy and ginger and all that stuff in it. If you had a cold or a fever or something like that, you could drink it and go to bed and get up the next morning and it'd sweat it out of you and make you feel good and just get rid of all of it. Beat what you could get at the doctor back then, you know.
It's a tradition, it's heritage, it's pride.
We growed up, it's way of life around here. There wasn't much more to do. I mean, I guess that's the way they was brought up. I guess they kind of brought us up that way.
My grandparents were both born in the national park here, and they hunted for food, grew a garden for vegetables, fished for fish, and the way they made their money was to make moonshine, you know. So it's definitely a way of life and tradition here.
My grandparents lived really rough through the Depression and all that. I mean, they didn't know any better than to, I mean, that's all they knew was to make a little money to make a moonshine. Yeah, I mean, you got to feed the family.
My mom's family was one of the first families to settle here in Tennessee, so a lot of Scotch-Irish descent, and of course, they were making moonshine documented through the family well over 100 years. So like I say, it's not actual theme, it's actual life, it's real.
When you got 11 brothers and sisters, it's hard to feed that many. And moonshine helped not just our family, but a lot of families around here. And my stepdad, he went to pen for making it. He got caught. So him and his 3 brothers died.
Bruce is an old moonshiner from way back, and he started when he was about 14 years old. I had a big family of brothers and sisters, and that's the only way of raising them, so I started making moonshine.
He's got the real world knowledge, you know. We know how to make it as far as by books go and using this big equipment and everything, but the old school knowledge is what you have by having a guy like Bruce. That's what he brings to the table.
I had a good neighbor lived about 3 miles from me, and that's all he done all his life. And he said was in kind of a bad stage where we didn't have nothing to eat. And he come to me and wanted to know if I wanted to help him, so I volunteered. In about 2 or 3 weeks, I was right there with him helping him. He learned me everything that he knowed, so that's where I learned to make moonshine. So I'm just 14 years old when I started, so they wasn't nothing to do. You might make $1 a week or something for out here to cutting backer or something like that, or $1 a day, and that was about it. I had 5 sisters, a brother, and a mother and a dad. Yeah, my dad got sick and nobody there, so I just had to go do it. My mother would go to town every 2 weeks and bring the groceries in. We never did go hungry anymore. I promised her I'd take care of her, and that's what I done.
I know he ran moonshine on a pretty large scale at one point there, and Bruce is the real deal. He really made moonshine, and you'll learn that Gomer's the same way. Both of those guys, they were in it before it was ever legal, and they grew up in it, and their fathers and grandfathers made moonshine, and they're the real deal. I mean, a lot of these places you'll go in, and it's a bunch of people that are my age that might know moonshine, but not like those guys do. They know it on this end and on the end that it used to be, where their families had to do it to survive and where they did it in the woods, you know.
A lot of us kids would went hungry if we didn't have something to pick up out of where Pap worked. It's hard to feed 12 kids. So anything you can do helps. So that's the only thing we did was shine and backer. Grow backer and evening, make shine and bathe evening.
Bruce and Gomer, they actually retired. They saw a chance to get back on board and do something that their family was passionate about. You spend 5 minutes with them, none of us are scripted. We speak from the heart, so and from life lessons and everything, so.
You know what MU is? It's like an ostrich. They're mean. So I drank a little bit, thought I'd jump on it and catch it for the police department over there. Well, they had it cornered over there, so I sized it up. Thought I can catch that thing in tight. That was a mistake. And pretty much that thing whooped me all over that mountain. I was black and blue. That thing is kicking me 10 foot of the lick. It would run you down and actually stomp on you. And it hurt me bad. So don't drink moonshine and get on the MU, because they'll hurt you.
These guys were tinkering with engines, trying to stay a step ahead of the revenuers and the law enforcement.
Well, you could soup them up. You could put Buick motors in them, or you could just put Chevrolet motors or whatever. You can soup them up and make them run faster. And they was kind of low to the ground. They'd hang in the curves and stuff. So that's the reason we done it.
You know, people were souping these cars up and they're running from the law, and you know, these people are becoming very good drivers. So when they met, you know, down in Daytona on the beaches to see who had the fastest car and who was the best driver, I mean, you know, that's pretty much where the moonshiners come from.
I had 16 cases of liquor in the car, and I was drunk a little too much, and I got out, and the car come up behind me, and I thought it was the revenuers, and I got a little fast and flipped the car and broke all my liquor, skinned up, and jumped out and run off, and come find out it's one of my buddies trying to run me down. But that's just the way we used to do back then.
They grew up on these back roads, and you know, trial and error. You don't use the brake, you know, it's just a gas pedal, and then whatever's going to stop you is going to stop you, you know. So they learned to navigate the roads, and you know, and they kept an upper hand for a long time, up until radios came into play, you know, for law enforcement, and then that kind of evened the playing field. But you know, very innovative Appalachian MacGyvers, maybe is lack of a better word. You know, they would have decoy cars. You know, they'd have spotters and everything. Like I say, it was their livelihood, so it was a make or break deal.
You can get out and tell people, well, I outrun this feller, I done that, and just bragging rights about it, what it is. And see who can make the best moonshine. People get out and talk, well, Bruce Whaley made this moonshine over here, and that's pretty good, and, you know, stuff like that. We run 410 barrels, so that was 2,000 gallons. And average week is about 70 or 80 bucks. Where everybody else was making $10, $15 a week, I was making 70 or 80 bucks a week.
We built something here we call the Holler. People can walk in here. There's always a bluegrass band playing.
Oh yeah, we always have fun here. We try to make it a fun experience for everyone. We have rocking chairs, we have live entertainment every day, and people get to come in and taste and look around and enjoy some music and some bluegrass.
You can see everything that we're doing, all the fermenters. You can see the moonshine running off the stills. And then you can actually sample our products and buy them here. You know, we have moonshine-infused foods, for instance. We have lots of things, so a little bit for everybody.
Okay, tastes like a Jolly Rancher.
It's so good.
This is somewhere people can spend some time, enjoy, learn some heritage, and kind of see what we're doing.
We have tours where people could actually come back in the distillery, but that's why we have Bruce sitting out there.
I thought maybe that was just for looks right there.
No,
that's the real deal.
We don't want anybody to walk through here and not at least get acknowledged and learn something about moonshine if they want to. Because most people, if you're not from this area, a lot of people won't know anything about it.
Being the first legal distillery in the state of Tennessee and to have Old Smoky Moonshine birth right here in Gatlinburg, we're just delighted, and it is an honor to have them here. It has taken our little mountain town of 3,900 full-time year-round residents to an international platform. They have raised the awareness of the heritage and the culture of our area, and so they have opened a new facet of the story of the Appalachians and who we are as a people and of Gatlinburg, and that has been really unique for us. We appreciate them being here and helping us tell that story.
Well, I was weed eating at the house and it was raining. I had these glasses on, water on my glasses. And I thought it was bee sting, which I'm allergic to bees. And I looked down and that copperhead that done bit me was hanging, his fangs hanging in my blue jeans. So I went screaming and hollering. I drove off the creek backwards, kicking, and it wouldn't come out. I reached down, grabbed it, pulled it out, and pulled the fangs out. Got me one good time, one fang got me. I just choked it down while I went and put it in the jar and fed it some moonshine. I guess it OD'd on the home proof. Well, I put it in the jar and I called it Pure Copper Shine.
Gatlinburg is situated at the foot of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. We are surrounded on 3 sides by the park, multiple entrances into the park. When the park was formed, a lot of the families that were living in that area that were moonshining were displaced and came down into the city of Gatlinburg and started building an economy here and making a way for themselves.
Hey, it ain't like Bonnie and Clyde movies, drink moonshine, get out here and shoot up the town. A lot of people thought that was all moonshine was for, but it ain't. There's a lot different than that. A lot of people comes here and finally learns that when they come into town right in here. I was talking to them people there a while ago, and that's what they said. You know, you just well, what we've heard about moonshine has been all bad. I said, well, you know, a lot of it has been bad, but a lot of it has been true.
I went to college up in Washington, D.C., and one of the first questions I was always asked was, when they found out I was from East Tennessee, was, can you get us some moonshine? So it's been something that has been there. It was never a business plan that really was real well thought out. I'd been practicing law for about 10 years and wanted to do something else. And there were some changes in the state laws that allowed us to get into business. We're fortunate to have a lot of visitors to the Smoky Mountains, and I felt like that if we could just offer them an authentic experience, that we could create a successful business out of it. I didn't realize that 4 years later we'd be selling it in South Korea and Sweden and places all around the world.
Not only the fact that we're proud of our product, but a lot of it is that it's a local homegrown company. Joe's the type of guy that will buy product from local people, and when he's building something, he'll have a contractor that's a local contractor come in and do it. He's really community involved, and I think it's not just the product that we put out, but it's where we sit in the community that makes it so special.
It's fun to be able to brag about where you live or where you're from or who you are as a people. And so, the state of Tennessee, we're good at a lot of things, but especially music and whiskey. And I think that to be able to take what was once unknown and taboo and be able to celebrate it, it's a lot more fun than practicing law.